happenings from almost 365 days ago. On 20th January 2022, a large explosion occurred along the Tarkwa-Bogoso-Ayamfuri road in the western region after a truck transporting mining explosives collided with a motorcycle. The explosion leveled the nearby Appiatse village, killing 13 and injuring some 200 people. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources launched the Appiatse Endowment Fund to support people affected by the explosion. The support fund was to help in the rebuilding of the community, and a 5-member committee was also launched to check and coordinate materials for rebuilding that community. In February 2022, Magsan Ghana agreed to pay $5 million fine for breaches regarding the manufacture, storage and transportation of explosives. The conditions were also set by the Lands Minister Samuel Abujinapo that Magsan must meet before the operating permit was restored. Tomorrow, 20th January, will mark exactly 1 year since the unfortunate incident occurred. How are the people faring and how far with commitments to rebuild the community? What happened to the injured a year on? My guest this morning, the Honorable Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Benito Owusu-Bio, takes a seat with us. Honorable, good morning, welcome.
Good morning to you, Sarah.
He did not come alone. He came with Mr. Charles Blankson, who is a member of the Appiatse Reconstruction Committee, and he will also be sharing some insights with us. Mr. Blankson, thanks for joining us. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
It's unfortunate that we've had to, start our first engagement with both of you gentlemen on such a somber note because of happenings in Appiatse just a year ago. In case you've forgotten, and not to bring up any sad memories, but we want to take you on a quick trip down memory lane to tell the story of Appiatse flattened.
Appiatse is a mining and a farming community between Tarkwa and Bogoso in the Prestia-Huni Valley Municipal Assembly in the western region of Ghana. It has a population of a little over 10,000. And this is what Appiatse would have looked like but for the unfortunate event of 20th January 2022, looking at its adjoining village, Nyametiase. Being a mining community, it is safe to assume that the people may be aware of dynamite, its importance to mining, and its benefits for miners. Indeed, dynamite can have a very devastating effect if found in the wrong hands, and this is what the indigents of Appiatse will wake up to on January 20, 2022. A sad reality, this is flattened by dynamite. On January 20, 2022, a truck transporting dynamite explosives to Chiranu Gold Mine, operated by Canada-based Kinross, about 140 kilometers away from the epicenter of the blast in Appiatse, allegedly collided with a tricycle, locally known as a boboya, causing a devastating explosion. The people of Appiatse, as well as other commuters traveling along that road, came to the scene of the collision. Curious, some decided to use their mobile phones to capture the scenes when a second blast went off some few minutes later, leaving some 13 people dead, several also injured, and hundreds of properties razed down. The destruction traveled as far as a kilometer away from the epicenter of the blast. In this feature, GTV's Breakfast Keep an Eye team brings you Flattened by Dynamite, as we pay a visit to survivors to find out how they are picking their lives up and the kind of support that's available for them. The costs: properties, shops, a church about 88 meters from the epicenter went down. Same as a makeshift school, a fuel station in the distance, with some houses behind it, all affected. At the relief camp, we met some of the victims. First to speak to us was a young widow, Hannah Entry, who lost her husband in the blast.
System there, me kono busuafo no mo boa me kakanka. Na oman I say community uniso. President nso kakanka mo hwe yen kakanka nti. A system ne. Omo ko school ne ade. Omo school ne de omo ko kakanka. Say am krampo me ya fit. Me ona me na ya me ya me mu na ade. Ti say next for so how mo hwe yen kakanka.
We spoke also to the MCE.
And running up my Bosomba Pepe. And said, I'll be 11:30 in Mona, your sound no crown on me feeling or me dynamic moon. And I'm a Pia Bonting. And I'm baby Sasha, then I see me call for no me, go for me also a sound if you crew. Until now, sound a strange. Until me that about 2 minutes, 3 minutes now, Minya cause as I see Appiatse, yeah, your choir could draw her now and for the crooning in ano about down. Shashi, and them go by.
That report was by Alan Darrell Tego, who visited Appiatse 1 month after the disaster happened. More recently, another team has visited the site, and yesterday, Honorable Benito, you and your people were there once again to give us a more updated look at what has happened to the community more recently. Clara Mlano's story will be playing pretty shortly, but we heard the stories. We know the support funds were set up, about 3 of them at the end of the day, all with one goal: to help the people just overcome the trauma of what they had been through and to help the injured and the community as a whole to rebuild. How are we doing, Honorable?
I'll say thanks to everybody, including the President, the Appiatse Support Fund, and then also the members of the Appiatse Reconstruction Implementation Committee, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, and everybody at our ministry, for all of them getting involved and coming on board to assist us to do our work. So far, I'll say so far so good. But then, I'll say condolence to those who lost their lives and also to the families still living. Currently, I would say work there is about between 29% to 39% complete, and that's the stage that we are. We went through the various stages. First of all, setting up the fund and getting Madame Joyce Ayi to chair the fund, and then also as they were asking for donations and the donations were trickling in, we too, as the implementation committee, also started our work. That was somewhere in March, and that we began with an advert for designs from the general public. Interestingly, a lot of people brought their designs, and it was interesting. After going through a selection process, the winning design was then taken through procurement and everything, and we were able to select the contractors. In all, about 6 contractors were selected out of the lot, and we also made sure that we went through the public procurement process, and they went on site in September 2022, and since then they've been there. And as at yesterday, the one who's done a lot was at around between 39.9%, and then the one who was trailing behind was around 29%.
Okay,
so in all, 124 buildings are being constructed. That's the phase 1.
Phase 1, 124 buildings.
124 buildings are being constructed.
But if construction is at 39%, there's still a bit of a way to go. Mr. Blankson, what are you able to tell us? Because you are on the committee that is actually in charge of the rebuilding process. Your initial comments, and then we'll take Clara's report on the visits that the minister took with his colleagues yesterday.
Right. Yeah, so it's at 39%. There were a few challenges on site, you can imagine. I mean, as we set out the buildings, there was a bit of a marshy area, and some of them were in there. So we had to, redesign some sections of it. So that held us back a little bit. We had a problem with, we are using compressed earth bricks, and it's not a very common building material. It's good. It's good because we're supposed to meet some green technology requirements.
Compressed earth, is that like clay?
Laterite, and you mix it with a little bit of cement, and it's very good in terms of performance. So we had a little bit of a challenge getting the production processes underway, but that's all taken care of. And then finally, I think the roads didn't start as early as we wanted. So all those things have been resolved. So we are moving forward very rapidly now. We are pressurizing them. We are really cracking the whip, but we don't want to compromise on quality. When you try to build fast, you end up compromising on quality. So we are trying to manage that. We hope to finish. The initial completion date was supposed to be in June, but realistically,
it's been moved to September.
Yes, we are hoping we will finish by September, maybe even before.
So yesterday, a team from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources visited Appiatse community to see the extent of work and the progress on the buildings that are being put up to replace that flattened community from last year. And Clara Mlano, our reporter at GBC News, brought us that story. Let's refresh your memory on what happened yesterday.
All hands on deck to raise these structures at various levels of completion for victims of the January 20 Appiatse disaster. Work on all 6 lots are progressing steadily, with some at the lintel level. The first phase of work cost about 45 million Ghana cedis, with the choice of earth bricks for the construction in line with building an eco-friendly, sustainable and green community. Road demarcations, walkways, gutters were all being laid out. A Get Fund project comprising a 6-unit classroom block for the basic level and a junior high school has commenced to be ready for use when the community relocates here. In all, the team's assessment of quality and speed in the construction rated the best performing contractor at 39% and the least performing at 29%. They urged the project consultants, ASO, to inject some life into the work to meet the stipulated deadline before any disruptions when the rains set in. On welfare and economic livelihoods of the victims, the Chief Executive of the Prestia-Ahune Valley Municipality, Mr. Isaac Dasmani, said, aside the various donor support, the Assembly has some financial quota assisting the people.
Sometimes when they give them some prescriptions and others, we also give them money to buy. And then 1 year on, at least now we have about only 8 who are still in critical condition, and then about 9 of them who still have some metals, within their bodies that we are nurturing.
While outlining the various interventions put in place to avert a future recurrence.
We're back in studio, and that was Clara Mlano's report from Appiatse yesterday. The Honorable Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Benito Usubio, is at our table with Mr. Charles Blankson, who is a member of the Appiatse Reconstruction Committee, and we are just trying to see the state of Appiatse and its people, the injured, the bereaved families, almost a year after that dark, dark day. Honorable, I'll put this to you. Welfare has been topical, but closely aligned to welfare is the plan for this not to happen again. So after the accident, there were all these conversations about new systems that needed to be put in place to ensure that these mining equipment, explosives are transported safely. One of them being having some escorts for the transporting truck and other things. How are we doing with those new measures that were introduced post Appiatse explosion?
Thank you. Yes, there was a need for us to critically look at the various measures and various procedures in terms of the handling of explosives and also the transportation of explosives. Our minister set up a committee, and that committee came up with these recommendations, which currently we have set in place and are using. The most important one of them was to look at the LI 2177, and that is the legislative instrument that regulates the use of explosives. And after looking at it, we realized that Section 5 of that particular LI also mandates the Chief Inspector of Mines, who is under the Minerals Commission, to come up as and when necessary with guidelines as to how explosives are held and controlled. And so he has come up with new guidelines, and those guidelines are what is being implemented now. Yes. The main issue that I would say, which I know that will forestall any happenings or any occurrence of what happened the other time, has got to do with the fact that currently the transportation of ammonium nitrate, that is the explosive chemical, and is, we say, the fuel, that is the fuel, those two are not transported at the same time, on the same track, or even on the same journey, but rather the mining companies, together with the explosive companies, have set up within their mine operations a setup which has the fuel, that's the fuel that they will use in mixing the ammonium nitrate. So what happens is that the fuel is already there before the ammonium nitrate chemical is transported to the site, and it's only mixed together on site, at the mine site. And so there would not be any instance where you have to transport the two at the same time, like it did happen with Appiatse.
Right.
Yes.
And
that, I would say, is a good thing, and that is going to prevent anything of this sort from happening. Also, the escort of these trucks are also being done under high monitoring conditions, to the extent that through the various chain of command, and there has to be a report, and these reports have to be submitted to the Minerals Commission. That is the transportation of every truck. All the chain of command has to be monitored, and it has to be certified by a mining inspector before at the end of the month you can still be allowed to keep on transporting these chemicals. A lot has happened.
I must say that we have the MC for Prestea Ahoni Valley on the phone lines, and I would want to pick his thoughts on the welfare of the injured who are still in hospital. Mr. Isaac Dasmani has joined us. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us. Yesterday you spoke to our GTV crew on the ground, and you made reference to the fact that there's some 8 people who are still under some kind of critical condition and are being attended to in hospital. Would you care to elaborate on that? What's their state as we speak?
Yeah, thank you for having me this morning, and then send my greetings to all your panelists and to your listeners at the same time. Yes, since the incident happened, the total people who were affected were, 496. We did the various degrees of injuries, and then we lost 13 at that instant. And then later on, we lost 3 people in addition, making 16 in total. So we started providing all the necessary care, setting up clinic, mini clinic at the camp, and then to just take care of them. And then over the years, within the whole period, a lot of them have recovered. And just as yesterday in the evening, when I spoke, I had a meeting with the municipal head director. And the total number now probably stands at 20, where we have 2 people who are in critical. I'm saying critical because the 2 people they have been paralyzed. The two people, and the rest have some metals, and some have some broken bones, and then some eyes, and then there are some other headaches, and then all those things that we are so taking care of them. Government is paying their hospital. Their hospital bill. Their hospital. Bills. But we are also supporting them with prescriptions and then other things that they bring out, and their TNT going to for reviews, and then other things that we are so continue supporting them.
What has been the biggest challenge in all this? Because I'm looking at the injury list and I'm seeing that they may require different types of specialists. And for your area, Prestia-Ahone Valley, would you say that access has been good? And what more could be done to make your work easier or to make life better for these victims?
Yeah, this thing happens. Some of them, we have even sent some as far as to Appiatse, those who have some broken bones and other things. I mean, we sent some to the other hospitals, some in to Polebu, some to Komfanochi Hospital. That I mean, all these people, some have recovered, and so throughout the whole country, almost all the big hospitals provide. Tarkwa and all these hospitals have also been helping in taking care of all the victims. I mean, so now over the period, we are taking care of bills and other things. So if you look at the injury list that we have now, currently we have just 20 people, and then the two that we are always referred to, they have been paralyzed. The two people have been paralyzed, and the others have some minor injuries that we are still helping them to recover.
Beyond the injuries and the support for them medically, what other support have they received in all this? Because livelihoods have been affected. Some may be breadwinners who were taking care of families. What has been the process or the support in that regard?
Since we started, we have received a lot of support from NGOs, organizations, government officials, and then just to make sure that we improve their lifestyle. And where we are located now to where the incident happened. It's not far from where the original Appiatse was. And then if you look at some of the activities, basically most of them were farmers. Some were also doing petty trading, selling and all that. And so when they were relocated there, some also started their own businesses. They received some support from other organizations, and Red Cross also gave them some money. And so some of these monies were given to them directly, given the data that we have. And then some other churches also came in here. They trained some people in some how to do some businesses and all of that. So they received some support from almost all the organizations people who came around to provide some necessary support for all of them, to start up something. When you go there right now, you see some people are opening their small kiosks, some are going about doing their own businesses and others. Of course, the life, it has not been, perfect as we probably can here to see. But given the support that we're giving to them, the food that even they were giving to us 1 year down the line, we still have some food and stuff that we distribute to them almost every month. And then those who are also in schools, and then we support them. Those who were children went to senior high schools, we also supported them. Now some are also going to tertiary institutions that we are still providing some support for them. But as we are providing some of this support, of course, the money that we have here, also start going down. So we are still appealing the individuals, organizations who come to our aid to support us to probably take care of the rest of them.
Tell us about their living arrangements as we speak. I remember clearly that in the immediate aftermath of the explosion, people had to be put up in temporary places, and then there was a tent structure, and now we are hearing that the actual buildings are between 29 to 39% complete. Where are people living whilst they wait for September 2023, when the ministry expects that the buildings, phase 1 at least, would be completed?
Fortunately, when the incident happened that is their own town, and then the FGR, Future Global Resources, were being resettlement for Odumate. So the minister and his team and myself and the minister, we went around, and then we were able to talk to the mining company to give us the area where the Honorable Benito led the team, and then we re-roofed about 39 buildings. And then 39, now there are even 41 buildings. And these buildings are the various categories. Some are 3 bedrooms, some are 4 bedrooms, some are 5 bedrooms, some are even 6 bedrooms that we have roofed for them that they are staying right now. So right now, they are almost all of them have been housed. And we provided water, electricity, and all of them. And it's now, because the area is rains a lot, so we took that into consideration when they were in Kent, and we did that arrangement. I'm sure even that has even caused a little delay in terms of the reconstruction, because we spent close to almost 4 months relocating them to where they are now, so that at least we can have enough time to do, to restore their original, community for them.
Mr. Dasmani, thank you so much. I wonder if you have any more thoughts to share with us. Tomorrow is exactly 1 year since the incident occurred. What's the plan? Is there a memorial? I'm sure there is going to be some kind of activity. Tell us about that.
Yes. Today we are going to hold a vigil night in the evening, and then we will invite some people to also come and give us some safety talks. And then tomorrow, so we are going to have a program where the program we are inviting other stakeholders, the mining sector, and they should also come and then give some education on how they transport some of these chemicals on the road. And sometimes when we see some of these things, there are the measures that we need to take. And tomorrow we are going to start at 9 o'clock, and then by 12:45, by 11:45, when the actual incident happened, we all gather or converge in the middle of the road for just 5 minutes, and then observe some few minutes silence for the 16 people who departed from the incident. And then from there, we move to the cemetery and do some relief. And then Sunday will be a general church service for the community, people of Appiatse.
MC, thank you so much for your time, and do extend once again our sincere condolences to the community Appiatse, and with the hope of a new Appiatse further down in the year, and may the souls of the departed rest in peace. Isaac Dasmani is the MC for Prestea Huni Valley. Still at the table, Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Benito Usubio and Mr. Charles Blanks, the member of the Appiatse Reconstruction Committee, talking to us about a year on from that disaster. Minister, I wonder what your thoughts are hearing him recount what it has been like for the injured persons. At some point, we're hearing reports that some were being transported. Obviously, people are paralyzed, others had to be amputated. People still have shrapnel stuck in various parts of their bodies, and there's a way that a medical process that has to be followed to ensure that these are got out and they are treated in a safe way. What would you have to add to what the MC has told us right now?
I'll say government has been forthcoming in terms of being proactive in supporting and funding their medical needs. So far, the government, through our ministry and the support fund, we have been able to support them and taking care of almost all their medical bills. Yes, and with the help of the local committee chaired by the MCA who just spoke, the Honorable Dasmani, they too have been following all those who need assistance. Like he said, some of them are not even living in the community now. Some have relocated, they've been relocated by their relatives to Kumasi, Accra, and other places. But then they are keeping track of all of them. And when they need any support in terms of health support, they send the information to the assembly, and then the assembly through the MC sends them all the needed support, to the extent that even donations that come to them, and even that when they are sharing them, they make sure that everybody also is giving something. So I would say kudos to the local committee, because so far they've done well. Like he said, they even have track of every person who was injured, to the extent of what injury that person has and what assistance that person need. Those living too have to be thought of. It's important whilst we are thinking about the deaf, those who are injured, and then those who are okay. Even those who are okay, there's a need for us to also look after them. And so far, I can say that yesterday on our visit, we realized that some of them have set up their own petty trading businesses. They have their tabletop shops and kiosk container shops. And with the support of CSOs, NGOs, they've been able to put some capital together. The MC informed us that some of them have even been given some capital funding for them to inject in their business. But then it's important, you ask the question, are they still in the tents? No, they are no more in the tents. And I would say that is part of the issue why we delayed in the reconstruction. Because just as when we thought we could start, then the rains set in. And that exposed us in terms of where they were staying. The tents were not strong enough to actually accommodate them. So we started looking for alternatives. Unfortunately, there was this uncompleted project close by, which was owned by the mining company within the community. And we had talks with them. They agreed for us to use it temporarily. But then they were at various stages of completion. Most of them, all of them, had no roofs. They even had no gables on them. And there was a need for us to roof them and also put in doors, windows, netting, water, electricity, access routes, everything had to be done. And that took about 3 to 4 months for us to complete. Now, as we speak, 41, I would say, housing units have been roofed, and that is accommodating all the various people, the victims of Appiatse. So at least every family now has 1 bedroom. Every family. Some of them, depending on your family size, you have 2 or 3, and they are all okay. Right. You visited there with your cameraman, and they even interviewed some of them over there.
They did. So, Mr. Blankson, I'll put this to you then. One of the key issues that also came up after the explosion was the fact that the road had been sited very close to a town which was a bustling economic center. And the idea was, if there was a plan for a reconstruction, the consideration for the road to be taken further away from the residential site was to be at the forefront of any discussion. Has that happened?
Precisely. In fact, I was going to add that on when you were talking of the measures that had been put in place. And so by design, we have actually increased the reservation. And aside of that, we've tried to create a buffer, green buffer. So the playing fields and, some of the memorial gardens and things, they actually align along the road, to keep pedestrians and so on and so forth from vehicular access. So that's one of the key things that we've done by design. But one has to bear in mind the sociocultural aspects of this. It's not the best, but you find people tend to hustle and bustle along the road because that's people just want to buy. So we've created a lay-by, really, because Appiatse is noted for the production of kinky. You see, so when people on the highway, they stop and then they want to buy kinky. We don't want to take that opportunity completely away from the community, otherwise they'll feel isolated. So there's a lay-by. So really, if you want to buy foodstuffs or whatever it is you want to buy, you have to come off the main road and then get in that lay-by and then manage to go back. So by design, that's exactly what we've done, to help prevent. It won't obviously completely eradicate, and we pray such a disaster will not happen again, but even a minor one. And the minor ones do happen, and then the road traffic accidents and so on and so forth. So those are the measures we've done in terms of the layout to prevent that.
Would you say you are satisfied with the extent of work? I'm hearing 39, and I'm thinking of all the other, the bigger side that is still left to go. 39 is the best we've done, considering that this was a year ago, and people are still waiting. Are you content with progress?
I am. I mean, let's be honest. If we started in September and we are in January, 39% is a good percentage. And if we look at the progress of work, and they are working very hard, I'll have to admit. If we look at that progress of work, we should be able to finish by this September.
I remember when you came to share the plan with us. Is that still the plan?
Absolutely.
Because you mentioned that some changes had to be made along the way.
Yes.
Is this still the plan that families have been assigned, units, and everybody knows what their building is? Exactly. And so as it's being built, people know that this will be my future house. Is that still what it is?
That will eventually end up with the municipality, but that's what has been done by design. But the municipality will do the allocations. But we've designed each there are house types ranging from 1 bedroom up to 7 bedrooms in various numbers. So we've tried to replicate what was existing in terms of the family unit. So the houses have been designed for particular family units, and when they are being allocated, that would be followed.
And there are other facilities as well. I saw
Yeah.
a classroom
Yes.
or a school
Yes.
that was being built for
Yes.
basic and junior
Yes.
high.
That was sponsored. That is actually sponsored, and it's going very well. And then we are going to do a clinic to the first core, a school, and then a clinic. So when we finish with the core, then we'll continue with the periphery.
Okay.
So and there are other things which are not haven't been built yet. They're actually on the other side of the road too. So we have a market, we have a taxi rank, a lorry station sort of, and the other facilities that we'll build to make the community, vibrant in itself.
How are we doing in terms of finances for the reconstruction, Mr. Blanks?
Yes, so the support fund is funding the project, and we are doing quite well. We were very strict at the beginning, and the contractors had to, pre-finance, because we wanted to be sure that things were going to go and very transparently and so on and so forth. But the funds are there. It might not be.
How much are we talking here?
In terms of the funds?
Yep.
I don't know how much has been collected so far, but the project in itself, we have an estimate for it, and we hope that we'll be able to make within that budget.
What's the estimate? I've heard a number of figures.
It's
so far 45 million for phase 1.
Yes, and so it's 45 million for phase 1 for now.
Okay,
yeah.
So
it's actually a little bit more than, I think it's 49.
49.
Yes.
Okay. So Maxam was the one that absorbed much of the guilt, for, if there was any, by society. Everybody got the backlash because it was their truck that was transporting the explosives. There was a repayment or an amortization plan of some sort. How far has that gone? How much have they paid? Do they still have any more to pay? Because the original 6 million was, tapered down to give them a chance of even surviving post the fine. How much have they paid?
I would say they still paid in March. It was structured in such a way that, like you said, in such a way that they'll be paying in installments. Yes, and the first installment was to begin in March, and they have been paying, and so far I would say they have paid up to inclusive of November. So we shall be expecting the installment for December in January. So with that, I can say they are on schedule, and they have been up to their word.
Are you able to tell us how much they paid so far?
The paying on an average is around $230,000 or ACD equivalent, yes, monthly. And if let's say from March till now, that will give us roughly around 9 months thereabout, and they paid that.
Where have those monies been allocated?
They pay to the Minerals Commission, because they by law have the mandate to fine them, and in fact it was the Minerals Commission that did fine
That
them.
imposed the fine.
That imposed the fine.
So perhaps we would better put the question to the CEO of the Minerals Commission when he sits with us next time.
Anytime you see him, you can ask him the question. But then once they receive it, then they onward transfer it to the Appiatse support fund.
So for now, because Mr. Isi is not here, our good friend Mr. Isi from the Minerals Commission is not here, the idea is whatever fines Maxam has paid to the Minerals Commission has been put into the Appiatse support fund.
By the instruction of the president. Don't forget, the president said that fine must be used in reconstructing the community, the town, back again.
What's the next step, do you think, for Mr. Blankson, for the rebuilding? Should we just hold on and wait till September and show up and see where we are?
No, I mean, you are free to visit the site at any time. I see that they are working hard. There are 6 contractors. One person or 2 people could have done, but because of the time element, we shared it into 6 lots. And in fact, we've been very stringent on them to the extent that we feel those 6 contractors offer some sort of competition even amongst themselves. So we actually took a number of houses off one contractor who was late in starting and gave it to somebody who was actually ahead of time. So we've got little measures that we are putting in place to make sure that we do meet on time. I just want to add that The buildings have been designed on, some sort of green technology basis. So we've got, large size penetrations for natural ventilation. We've got wide overhangs to make sure that the sun doesn't get too close to the building. We've got rainwater harvesting, to help in making it, a green building. So those little things have been added to enhance the quality of the building. The compressed earth bricks that we've been using, the advantage of this also is that we don't have to plaster the inside, even the outside. So we reduce the maintenance cost of painting. It's going to be.
So they will
like
not be
that for some
painted.
time.
We'll pretty
No.
much see them in that brick.
Yes.
Look.
Yes.
For forever.
That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it is.
There was a plan for that to become the go-to model for
Yes.
future resettlement plans.
Absolutely.
So this is like a model community.
Yes.
This new Appiatse is a
Yes.
model
Yes.
community. How green is it going to be? Because Minister mentioned that we had to put electricity and all those things in the other building.
Yeah.
In a proper green community,
Yes.
there would be no need for any source of energy that was not generated by the community itself. So what's the plan to make that happen for Appiatse?
Yes, so you're talking of off-grid. And solar, is expensive. So the only thing that we are not going to go in big time will be solar. But the roofs are pitch roofs, so at some point in time, if they do want, or we get some fund, if we still want to make it the perfect example, we'll try and go into the solar technology to help. But even by orientation of the buildings, where the shorter sides are facing the east-west so that the sun doesn't get too close, into the living spaces of the building, these are some of the little things that we've done to get them, to be green technology. We are trying to follow the guidelines set up by the National Housing Policy. So that's what we've used.
You
to
both
get
sing
green
such a hale and hearty tale. I wonder if there's been no challenges at all. It's been a year, and obviously 16 lives lost, 13 at the initial explosion, and we're told 3 more later on at different stages throughout the year. Has it all gone according to plan? There's been no hitches?
Oh, there have been a couple of hitches. Like I mentioned earlier on, the roads didn't really start on time. We had a problem with the production of the bricks themselves, but we've taken care of most of them. As of yesterday, when we went, we were quite happy with what we saw. But we'll still keep at it to make sure that, if any challenges come, we quickly address them.
Right. I think we'll be taking some of your messages very shortly. The WhatsApp number is 055-5561. 61034 is the WhatsApp number. So tell us what your thoughts are on Appiatse. If you're even watching us from that community, tell us what your experiences have been. The Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is here. Mr. Blankson is also here from the Reconstruction Committee, and they'll be taking some of your comments. Honorable, any more information you'd like to share with us before we wrap?
Yes, I would like to thank Ghanaians, especially the various companies, organizations who have so far donated. What we've received is not enough to complete.
How much do we have?
A little below 40 million Ghana cedis. And if the first phase is budgeted for 50 million, what it then means is that it's still not enough, even to complete the first phase, and then also to complete the second phase, because the second phase entails the renovation and works to be done on the houses that were on the periphery. Some of them shops, churches, and those other houses. And these are a bit expensive. And there are 416 of them in total. Yes. That will come on in the second phase. So whatever that we've received is not enough. So we're pleading to Ghanaians, various philanthropists, your good self, GTV, all our other media houses, to still come to the aid of Appiatse. They should still be supporting and donating. The support fund is still ready and open to receive whatever that will be brought on board. I have contributed. This year I'll contribute again. So we all need each and other to help. But then there's one thing I'll say. that Ghanaians have shown, and that is when we are in bad times, like we come across such, I'll say, area that there's a need for us to rally around, come together, and then work together. We are able to do that. Appiatse is a good example that one day will be told by all Ghanaians that, look, when Appiatse happened, we set our mind to reconstruct the town, and we did it ourselves. So we all should be proud of the stage that we've reached now. But then we'll even be more happier when it's completed.
Mr. Blanks, your final word.
No, I want to support what Honorable has said. The Deputy Minister has said. It's been quite traumatic, even going there and seeing the state of the community as it had been flattened. And I support entirely what he said. The good people of Ghana have donated money, and ours is to ensure stewardship of those funds, to make sure that the people benefit from the monies that have been given, and we are trying to make sure that we work within those funds that have been made available. So I'd like to support the appeal that we should try and continue to donate to the fund, whether it's in cash or in kind. I think that's the main message that I would want to give. As for the building of the community, the technical resources are there to do it. It's being supervised directly by AESL, who actually were the ones who won the bid. So that can be done. We'll try and do it as quickly as we can. As I said earlier on, the June was what was given. We'll look at what can be done by that period of June, and definitely by September it should be completed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Blankson, for sharing. Honorable, I wanted to make
I say Appiatse is a promise by the President. The Honor, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he threw the challenge to all of us that we are going to rebuild Appiatse, and so far he's lived up to his call, and we are going to help and support that is completed. The Honorable Samuel Ejinapo would have wished to be here personally today himself. How he wished he was here to be in the studio to talk about Appiatse, but then we are here doing it on his behalf and the good people of Ghana. So thank you, Selma.
Thank you.
Thank you
for making time to sit with us.
Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year to you,
everybody, including the people of Appiatse.
Yes, we pray that this year would be a better one for them as they begin to rebuild and pick up from where their lives obviously took a rather unfortunate turn last year. The Honorable Benito Subio is the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. He's been here with Mr. Charles Blankson, who is